Hi, welcome to That Reminds Me Of, a podcast about film and the films that remind us of that film. You're here with Baron and the Doc.
And the Maestro.
Do we need another drink?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Baron, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
Have you ever owned a Blackberry?
No. I've had a Nokia. I've had an Ericsson. Not a Blackberry. I feel like Blackberries never came to Australia.
What?
Did you have one?
No.
No.
No, but people did.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
definitely did.
Maybe I was just too young for Blackberries. Maybe I missed that whole thing.
I think that's it. Too young and not rich enough.
Yes. Because what was a Blackberry if it was just a phone that could do emails? That was like the whole pitch, right? And when I was 12 or whatever I was, 18, I didn't care about emails. Really?
It was a status symbol, so I'm sure when you were 12 you did care about status, but it was a different type of status.
That's right. That's right.
So why am I asking you about Blackberries?
No idea. It's probably unrelated completely to the film that we saw.
Which was called?
Blackberry.
What was it about?
Blackberries. It was about the genesis of the first smartphone. In fact, I will give you the synopsis because it tells you what it was about.
Yes, please.
The story of the meteoric rise and catastrophic demise of the world's first smartphone, which, if we remember history correctly, combined things like calling, messaging, and emailing for the first time. And then at a certain point around, I think it was 2008, the iPhone came out and just killed it. Dead.
And I feel if we're going to give first thoughts,
Yep.
one thing that this film did, Blackberry directed by...
Directed by Matt Johnson, who is also starring in the film.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
Matt Johnson, he plays one of the co-founders, the guy with the red headband, the goofball, who's the whole way through it. And at the very end of the film, you discover is now one of the world's richest men secretly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realise that.
Yeah. Also
Great
directed.
performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, great performance. But I guess the little history lesson you gave us on the BlackBerry and the iPhone coming in, one thing you'd say off the bat about this film is that it presents that history and that story pretty well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, just if you forget sort of the film and the filmmaking aspects of it, it's an interesting story. It's an interesting piece of history that I think everybody knows about Blackberries, but didn't realize that was a big deal. And of course it was. Just, I think the iPhones eclipsed everything.
Yeah. Here we are. I just heard the lift, so it's a good time to remind people we're at the Capitol Theatre, as we have been for a few episodes now.
That's right.
Between the lift and the loos.
Yes.
And someone could arrive anytime. So
Anytime.
let's hope there's someone famous.
That'd be great. If Hugo Weaving walks out of there on his way to the loos and then just joins us to reprise our episode about the rooster, that could happen. It's not going to happen.
I was thinking about that on the train just before. I was thinking that imagine Hugo Weaving walked in.
Oh,
Great minds.
what a fella. Anyway, it's got nothing to do with this film. Let's get back on track. What did you think about it, Doc?
I really liked it. I thought it was enjoyable throughout. I got a history lesson out of it. All the characters were enjoyable. I didn't completely love it. I've absolutely loved some of the films at MIFF.
Yeah.
And didn't love it.
Yeah.
So a lot of good things, not too many awful things, but just, good.
That is the most reserved review of a film I've ever heard. And that's exactly how I felt about this film as well. Like, it's props to Matt Johnson. I don't think he has a huge back catalogue of directing behind him. He's acting in it and he's directing it, and he's done a pretty good job. But it's not an amazing film, in my opinion. It's solid, let's put it that way. It has funny moments, but I don't think it's the film you run out and sort of tell everyone they have to go see. And I wonder if it's doing, because it's obviously got quite a budget behind it and quite a cast. It's also got, who have we got? We have Jay Baruchel from How to Train a Dragon and other things.
I'm going to let you mess up the pronunciation.
Great.
Continue.
Great. And Glenn Howerton
Yes.
from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay, keep going.
And Matt Johnson. That's as far as I'm going.
And Martin Donovan.
Who
Who's one of my all-time favourites, and in a small role, but was really cool.
Good cast. clearly has some money behind it, but I think maybe not the most sort of sure hand at directing behind it, because I think tonally it felt a little off. And I think there's also a lot of other films that we're going to talk about that we were reminded of while watching this that are in a similar vein that are just bigger, better, more fun films in general.
I agree with all of that, but
Yeah.
I do perhaps want to just still give him props, because it was really still enjoyable. I wasn't bored or anything throughout. I really quite liked it.
I just felt uneasy the whole way through it.
Well, I think I might know what that might have been.
Okay.
I think it's the shaved head with the sort of. It seemed as though that was fake baldness on the what's his name?
That was Always Sunny in
the main
Philadelphia
guy.
fella. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the character's name. Yes, I think there was some bad hair things going on in this film.
Which was also funny.
Yes, but intentionally so. It's sort of weird hair and makeup choices.
Yeah, maybe it was intentional, in which case, yeah, good. So it didn't bother me. I
Yeah.
just found it intriguing.
I just had this thought that, normally a film like this goes straight to cinema and has a bigger release, you would think. But instead, we're seeing it at MIFF, and it seems to be doing a bit of a festival run. And it just makes me wonder if distributors are equally perplexed by it, like they don't quite know what to do with it.
Well, I think it does have an audience, though. I think there's a lot of interest in these type of stories, and maybe we should go into our reminds me ofs, because we'll probably discuss a couple of similar ones that
Absolutely. I think this
people
film,
like.
just through this discussion, I think this is a bit of a divisive film. I think people are either going to like it or they're going to feel a bit weird about it, or maybe they won't like it because they feel like it's not quite lived up to the expectation they had. But divisive is okay, and it is still enjoyable. Okay, let's talk about some reminds me ofs. What did you have, Doc? Do you want to start or shall I?
I'll start. I had The Big Short,
Yes.
which is another story of, what would you call it? A comedy, drama, almost mockumentary. That charts the kind of experience just prior to the collapse, or the financial crisis, I think.
Yeah, and it's a moment in history.
Yeah.
And it's got that sort of American corporate setting of dudes in suits making important decisions. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that, from memory, I think that nailed the brief.
Yes,
I can't remember.
A great film.
Was it a great film?
Great film.
Yeah, okay. I don't remember either. Maybe it's not my style of film, so I remember enjoying it, and again, probably not, shouting about it to the rooftops, but I recall it as being assured, enjoyable, funny, doesn't let you go, and also just being a good history lesson of that time and a chronicle of a moment in time.
Yep. A thing we all knew about because it was in the headlines everywhere, kind of like everyone knows what a Blackberry is, but it was a deep dive into what was actually going on behind the scenes.
And it's kind of nice to see the rise and then the fall.
Yes.
It just makes for a good and slightly different story to many that we see.
Drama. I think we all love it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of lives were affected in The Big Short, and it's pretty awful what happened to a lot of families and so on. But from a storytelling perspective, it's got great highs and great lows, and it's got all the makings.
Well, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, very much in that vein, I had in my mind Air, which is a recent biopic kind of thing. They call that a biographical sports drama.
Wow.
And if that's a thing, then I think what we saw was a biographical tech drama.
That's a whole new genre.
Right?
We need to pitch something in that.
And if that's a biographical tech drama, then another one is maybe The Social Network or Jobs.
I haven't seen Jobs, but yeah, I thought The Social Network as well. That seems a pretty clear one. So tell us about that. It's probably a similar story to The Big Short, but...
Yeah, so The Social Network is the beginning of Facebook and all of the ups and downs to get that thing over the line, and just a little bit how dodgy perhaps some of Zuckerberg's dealings were, or the people he was dealing with. So this has a bit of that in it. I would just define it as sort of American corporate greed, men in suits, making big money decisions, screwing other people over, that genre, whatever that is.
It reminds me of my next one, which is Ruben Östlund, our favourite Ruben Östlund, and The Square.
Haven't seen it. That's like one I haven't seen of his.
It's a good one. I think I rewatched about half of it recently, so I kind of remember half of it, even though I have seen it before. It gives you a peek behind the curtain again, and this time at the sort of art world meets the marketing world. And you know, I remember scenes where they're pitching this sort of ludicrous artistic concept where there's a square and on the ground, and you know, if you're inside the square, it's a safe space or something like that. Something very sort of
to do whatever you want.
Something like that.
Okay. Yep.
It's sort of putting art in the public space.
Sure.
And a lot of the backroom conversations are about, you know, how do we present it? Does it get funding? And peek behind the curtain moments. So that was very similar to what you're seeing here. Tech company, how they really act, how the corporates really act. In particular, like the pitches and the politics and all that stuff. The films aren't really alike in any other way, but just for those peek behind the curtain moments.
Yeah.
The Square is a better film, but
not surprising.
But again, this one is not a bad it's not a bad execution of a similar thing.
Yeah. Imagine if every time you were talking about a film, you just talked about the films that were better than it.
No, it's not fair. I feel we're not doing it justice, actually. Like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree.
I enjoyed it. There were some really funny moments too. You know, like when he fixed the hiss in the little recorder or whatever it was, that ancient tech.
Yes.
And then that pays off at the end as well. So there's some clever filmmaking, some clever choices. So I don't know why I'm being so muted about it. Like, but
no,
yeah, it was good.
There's just so many other references that are popping into my head.
Oh, go.
Like *Halt and Catch Fire*, the TV show about a startup. And it feels like that's in a very similar era, although it's actually a bit earlier, I think. But it has the same aspect of a bunch of nerds basically creating something where, you know, their day of work might include everybody stopping and playing games for like a whole bunch of time. And then a real corporate figure coming in and trying to like, you know, take their great idea and make it viable as a product that he can sell. It's got that exact same dynamic.
There's something really enjoyable and cathartic just about seeing that presented on stage.
Yeah.
There's things that you recognise in your, you know, for those of us who have corporate lives, you recognise some stuff. Like it's enjoyable to see it presented, and you think, okay, well, I'm not the only person that deals with this sort of nonsense. So again, I think I'm starting to like this film the more we talk about it.
Well, when we first saw the list of films that were going to play at MIFF, I straight away identified this as a bit of an outlier.
Yes.
Because it has a larger cast. You can tell it has a larger budget just because of the subject matter. And so I was automatically attracted to it because I wanted to see what that film that might then go on to have a wider release would be, but still in the context of MIFF with a bunch of other indie films.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, we're talking about it alongside all these other smaller films. I don't know how the life of this film is going to go from here.
Yeah.
How it will be regarded when it sort of hits broader audiences.
Yeah, good point. Well, that's all I've got. I'm enjoying it more as we keep talking about it, so I think it's basically a win.
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts?
No, just that it is entertaining. There are some downsides to it or some flaws, but it's still an entertaining film, and I think people will get something out of it. It's an interesting piece of history, for sure.
Yes, it's a document that's kind of had to be made.
Yeah.
So thanks for making it. And
Matt Johnson, thanks.
Yeah.
And also, he's the funniest character in the thing.
He's the best. He was really great.
He gave himself a good role.
He did.
Probably the one that he can do as well, because he's probably a bit of a goofball as it is.
Oh, you know who he reminded me of?
No.
Aussie Man.
Aussie Man, yes.
He's not Aussie, but
No.
similar vibe.
Kind of has the same hair.
He does.
Well, that's all I had. I think people should go see this film still.
Yep. And speaking of films, we need to get to our next one.
That's right. Good timing.
Yeah. See you soon.
See you next time, dog.